we're gonna go into detail when we do the dissections when you come out of the groups. But I've already opened this shark up, and some of you may have already heard this before, but this shark's actually a female.
Y'all hear that? It's a female.
Yeah. So you'll see about everything else when we get around to it. But there's something exciting that we wanted to check out inside the female. What do you think that might be? Might be. We'll see. I'm not really sure. Look at this carefully.
It's so cool.
I don't want to hurt anybody.
Don't want to hurt.
I think you're lucky.
Oh my God.
Can everybody see that?
That was a mommy shark with her baby.
Yeah. So
Can I keep
there's...
that? Oh, Megan.
There's two.
There he is. He never
Oh,
wow. Three babies. Yeah.
Triplets.
So you see they've got a little cord right here. What do you think they're connected to?
belly button.
Well, that is connected maybe to their belly button. This right here, that's yolk. Yeah, just like in an egg.
You think I was going to say you want to cut that one open?
Yeah, so let's go see what it looks like. We'll have many opportunities to say that, I'm guessing. That's right. So what's that stuff for? That's to feed the baby. That's right. Right before lunch. That's right. All right. So we've got 3 little babies in here. I think that's it. Yeah. So we'll look at the rest of it when you guys come back out in your group, so you can see what it looks like on the inside.
Okay. So listen. Group number 1.
There we go. Okay, so you guys are in my group 1?
Yeah.
Welcome. So we've already seen some of the inside, but I want to flip it back over so we can look at it from the outside. Isn't this cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this shark obviously is not alive. It wasn't alive when we got it. It was already preserved, and that's kind of why it's got this weird torque to its body, because they preserved it and they put them into bags for us, and they injected them with some dye so we can look at some stuff on the inside. That's why the tail looks all floppy like this, right? Normally it looks more like that, right? It's solid together. So you guys like sharks?
Yeah. Kinda.
Kinda?
Depends on
Kinda? Maybe like this? It depends what kind? Okay. What kind is this? Do you guys know? No?
Dead one.
It is a dead one. That is true. So this is called a dogfish shark. Okay, it's a dogfish shark, and this is about as big as they normally get. This never is going to get to, your big great white sharks. It's about this size. And there's a couple things I want you to notice about it before we start to cut it open. One of the things I want you to notice is its body shape. How would you describe the shape of this shark's body, besides all twisted?
Curved.
Well, yeah, so it's got a bit of a curve to it, but part of that is because of how they've preserved it. Yeah, so it's gotten a little stiff. Normally this would be up in the air, right, like this? Yeah. So how would you describe the shape of this body? Maybe something that's like? Does it look like anything? Yeah, it's got kind of a cylinder shape, right? And you notice it's got kind of a, very true. It looks very shark-like.
Like a torpedo?
Right? Yeah, like a torpedo. It's got this nice pointed tip at the nose. That's called the rostrum, right? And it looks a lot like a plane. That's exactly right. And the body shape is just like that. They've got fins just like the wings of a plane, and they've got this nice long, streamlined body so that when they swim through the water, they can go real fast, right? Because what do sharks like to eat?
Humans.
Not usually. You're watching too much Sharknado. Yeah. No, they don't really like humans. They do sometimes take a bite by accident.
Phytoplankton?
Well, no, phytoplankton are a little too small for most of them, although some sharks do eat plankton, right? Like the whale shark. If you've been to the Georgia Aquarium, you see the whale shark. They eat plankton, which is really, really small. But most of these guys eat fish, they eat crabs, they eat squid, all the stuff that you're going to go look at inside, that's what they like to eat, right? So they need to be able to swim fast to be able to get them and catch them, right? And so they've got this nice streamlined body, right? I'll turn it on its side so you can see a little bit more. There's a couple of other things you want to see, like the eye right here, right? So they've got 2 nice big eyes on the sides of their head.
Did they take the eye out?
No, the eye is in there. It's a little hard to see what it normally looks like, although it would look a little bit more like this, but because it's been preserved, it kind of it deflates a little bit, so it doesn't look like it normally does. But no, that's the eye right there, so you can see the pupil and you can see the whites of the eyes right on the outside, right? And there's the other one. This one looks a little better, actually. Can you see that? Yeah, that one looks a little clearer, right? And so you can see the pupil, right? And you can see the iris on the outside, the darker part, and then the whites on the outside. So that's actually some of the pigment that's come forward from the back. So shark eyes actually kind of glow when you shine a light on them, and that's because they've got some of this metallic-like pigment in the back. And what that does is when they're swimming at night in the dark, they can see really well because they've got really reflective eyes, right? Yeah, exactly like cats. Exactly. It's the same kind of stuff in there. Okay? So there's a couple of other things to notice around the head. First, sharks have nostrils. You can see them right there. There's 2 on this side, and there's 2 on this side. Can't quite see them. Yeah. There's 1 and 2. You see them both? Right? The little holes there. You see that? Right? And the reason that they've got 2 is because they don't actually use their noses to breathe at all. Right? What do they use to breathe?
Gills.
They use their mouth and their gills, exactly. So you can see the gills right here. Right? Can you count how many openings they have in their gills?
4,
2, 3, 4, 5. Right? I kind of cut through one, but there's a 5th right here. Right? So they've got 5 gill openings, and when the water goes in through their mouth, it comes out the gills, and you can kind of see inside a little bit. Not very well, but it's easier to see in the picture here. You see all that red stuff? What do you think that is?
blood.
That's right, that's their blood vessels. Now here it's actually dye, but in the body it's blood vessels, so that when the water goes across their blood vessels, they get oxygen, right? And they get to breathe through that. But their nostrils don't connect to their gills at all. So their nostrils are only used for smelling, right? They use them for their sense of smell, just like you do. Pretty cool. Okay, and then we'll flip her over here, and you can see the most important part of the shark, at least as far as they're concerned. Can you see inside the mouth a little bit?
Yeah.
All right, what do you see in there?
Teeth.
Yeah. Most sharks have multiple rows of teeth. I can't quite see all of them in here. It's kind of cramping down a little hard there. But you can see the top and the bottom teeth, and they use those for chomping on whatever they're going to get their mouths on, right? And they can break through crab shells and all sorts of stuff with these. Okay, but they often have multiple rows of teeth, and as they get older, those teeth fall out and they get new ones. That's why when you go to the beach sometimes you can see shark teeth. That's not from sharks getting old and needing dentures. They continuously lose their teeth because otherwise they would break off. What else have we got as we work our way back? So there's actually one thing I'd like you guys to do. Maybe we can get them each to put on a pair, or at least one glove. Maybe
Put on
only
one glove each to take one out.
Now, if you don't want to touch the shark, you do not have to, but you'll be able to hear something if you listen closely, even if you don't touch the shark. I want you to check something out on the outside of the shark. What do you think they use these fins for?
Swimming.
That's right. Most of what they use these for actually is directing themselves. They don't really flap them around like you'd think they would. They just put them out to the side and it pulls them back and forth, right? They use this fin, the tail fin, the caudal fin, mostly for swimming, right? That's the big one that they swing back and forth, right? And then they've got one more up here. This is the dorsal fin, right? They've got another dorsal fin towards the back, although this one's a little floppy looking, right? And then they've got two little fins down here, ventral fins. So they've got a lot of different fins that they use, and they use them to help them move around in the water and change position so they can catch their food. Okay, we got our gloves on? All right, so the first thing I want you guys to do, it doesn't matter where on the shark you do it, I want you to put your finger on the skin, and I want you to move it towards the back of the shark. Okay? All right, it doesn't matter where, you can touch back here too, even on the tail. All right, how do you describe how it feels?
Soft.
Yeah, it's
Bumpy.
kind of, it's a little lumpy on the body, right? But the skin itself feels kind of smooth. Now try going the other direction. So you put your finger back and you move it forward. Everybody should hear that now, right? You picking that up? Well, it feels like sandpaper. That's exactly right, and that's exactly what it does. It's got some rough texture to it. They've got scales, sharks, on their body. Even though you can't see it, just like fish have scales, right? You're going to see inside a fish that has those big scales. They've got scales, but they're really, really small, right? And those scales are pointy, and they point backwards, right? And what that does is it helps the shark to swim in the water, right? It helps break up the water that would be grabbing onto their body as they try to swim by and hold them back. It's called drag, right? It breaks that up so that they don't get dragged backwards, and they can really efficiently swim quickly. Kind of cool, huh? So they've got these scales that move in the opposite direction. Okay, I think that's everything we can see on the outside. So let's get to cutting it open. Now, I've already cut this shark open. You already saw the little babies, right? So you saw inside of the uterus. This is a female shark, and we can tell that, of course, once we open it because, well, it had babies inside, right? But you can also tell that on the bottom. We don't have a picture of it. But on a male, these two bottom fins here, they would be much, much bigger. So we'd be able to tell the difference even from the outside. In a male, these would be very, very long. And females don't have that big, long fin. Okay? So now, we ready? Look inside. Whoa. Gross. That's not gross. So that's right. So when they cut open this shark and got started, you can touch the inside if you'd like. It feels a little bit slick. It is soft, right? It's a little slimy in there, right? Now part of that is because it's preserved, okay? But part of that is also because of this stuff right here. You know what this stuff is? So we're looking at the inside of the body. I'm going to have to pull it away so we can do the rest of the dissection. But this stuff right here is liver.
Awesome.
All this stuff right here is liver. So this organism, this shark, has a very big liver. In fact, all sharks have really big livers. The liver in some sharks can take up as much as 90% of the inside of their body, right? Huge liver. Now we're going to talk about what all this other stuff is, but think about that. Everything else is just 10%. So what do you think the liver's for? You can feel it if you'd like. It's really oily.
What do you think the liver does, guys? Any ideas?
Helps
Guesses?
it breathe?
Well, that's a good idea, although that's what the gills are for, right? And once they've breathed, here, let me show you something else. Here on the inside, it's a little hard to pull it away. You see that thing right there? That's its heart. That's right.
Small.
Yeah, they've got a pretty small heart. That's a good observation. Their hearts are not that big. They're pretty simple. So your heart is much bigger compared to your body than this shark's heart is. And it's very simple. It doesn't need to do a lot of stuff. It just moves the blood from the gills to the rest of the body, and then it comes back, and that's all it does. So it's a very simple little heart. Right? So that helps it breathe, right? It's got the gills and it's got the heart. But the liver is all full of oil. And what the liver does, it breaks down stuff that's in the body of the shark that it doesn't want anymore, so it can get rid of it in its waste. But mostly, what this liver does is it helps the shark float. Right? So the shark would be heavier than the water around it normally, but its liver is full of oil. And if you've ever had salad dressing, you know that oil always floats on top of the water, right? They stay separate from each other, right? Well, this liver, all full of oil, helps the shark to stay up in the water, so it doesn't have to work so hard to swim without sinking. Okay, so we've got the liver out of the way, sorta. And you see the blood vessels on the sides, right? We've got blue color for the veins. We've got red color for the arteries, right? Two different kinds of blood vessels. Well, it's red. It's this stuff right here, yeah. Okay, but what else we've got is yellow. You see this yellow right here. And that yellow is for the digestive system. So this is the first place we're going to look right here. What do you think this thing is? I'll give you a hint. Good guess. They don't actually have a bladder. But this is exactly the stomach. If I were to cut all the way through here, you'd be able to see the connection between the mouth and the stomach right here. And maybe later, once we finish the dissection for everybody, I'll cut it open and see if it had a little meal before it got preserved. Everybody's excited about that. You enjoying this? Okay. So we go from the stomach right here, which you can see is kind of big right at the top, and it connects directly to, what do you think comes next? What's right after the stomach? That's right. That's exactly right. It's the intestine. Okay? So here's the intestine starting to curl up. You see that?
You're good.
Yeah. Starting to curl up right here.
You can stand
And
up.
connecting to the intestine, this line right there connects from the liver down into the intestine, and you can kind of see it hanging off at the end here, but there's the gallbladder right there in the middle. So just like in your body, connected to your liver is your gallbladder, and what that does is it stores some of the enzymes, bile, that your body uses to help digest your food. That's the same thing for the shark. So they've got enzymes that they pump in here. Remember that the shark mostly eats their food in just big chomps, so they get everything all in together, right? They get all the bones, they get everything when they eat it. So they need to digest it, and they have high concentrations of enzymes in their stomach, and they've got bile in their intestines from their liver. Then as we come around here, we've got a nice complex structure. This thing here, this is part of their intestines. It's called the spiral organ. Okay, and I am going to cut this open so you can see what it looks like on the inside. You guys get that first.
I know.
You see in there? Isn't that cool? So you see all the... Ew, I know. Well, it's all preserved. That's why it looks kind of like this, a little mealy. But what this is right here is a spiral organ that pushes food down in the intestine. So what you're actually looking at in here is it's food, right? It's what that shark was eating a little while ago. And so it's being pushed down into this spiral organ until it eventually gets down into the large intestine right here. And then we've got the rectal gland right down there. And what that does is it pumps, I guess it's pumping out right now. It's pumping some stuff out just before the shark goes to the bathroom, which is right back here. I know. Well, it's got to get rid of it too. Okay, let's see, what else have we got? Right at the bottom of the stomach, this brown structure, it's kind of a pyramid shape right here, you see that?
Yeah.
That's the spleen. Okay, the spleen, that's right. And so the spleen is used for making blood cells, red blood cells, just like you have in your blood system. The spleen does that for the shark as well. Okay, I think we've covered all the major stuff in here. We've got one last thing. This thing right here, do you remember what it had in it?
Babies.
That's right. So only in the female will you see this, but this is the womb. This is the uterus for the shark. So she has her eggs inside of this uterus, and the eggs hatch inside of the uterus, and the babies grow up in that space. They use the yolk to help them grow bigger, and then when they're all ready, she pushes them out through the opening right back here, and they're born a little bigger than this. So they'd probably be about double this size when they're born. Right? So think about how big she would get with 3 of those little babies right in her uterus there.
You about ready to switch?
Oh yeah, I think
All
we're
right.
pretty much done. Did we cover everything?
How likely are they to see a dogfish shark, say, they're down in the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic Ocean?
Oh, these guys live in shallow water, so you could see them.
If they saw a small one, or sometimes you'll see people on the beach that catch. Oh, I got so that's probably
that
what it
could be
is.
one of these. That's
Okay.
right. So it could be one of these. Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. So there's a trash can here.
Put your
and